What's up, guys? The Snowman here. Women's basketball, definitely a sport on the rise. We recently saw some record highs in viewership during the NCAA tournament. We're going to ride that momentum today and go over all things regarding the WNBA. Maybe you're just starting to take notice in the WNBA thanks to star players like Caitlin Clark, or maybe you're a longtime fan simply wanting a refresher. We're going to dive into the basics of the WNBA, things like teams, format, the schedule, playoffs, and more. Let's start off by talking about the teams in the WNBA. It's a league that's been around since 1996. First season played was 1997. Since then, the number of teams has fluctuated from 8 to 10 to 12, all the way up to 16 in the early 2000s. However, as of 2024, there are 12 active teams in the WNBA, 12 franchises that compete for the championship each year. There are plans to add a 13th team in 2025 in San Francisco, so expansion definitely happening in the near future. I'd expect the WNBA would want to keep adding even more franchises in the next 5 to 10 years. From these 12 teams, we split them up into two conferences of 6 teams each. The 6 teams in red are the Western Conference: Seattle Storm, LA Sparks, Las Vegas Aces, Phoenix Mercury, Dallas Wings, and Minnesota Lynx. We also have 6 teams in blue. They make up the Eastern Conference: Chicago Sky, Indiana Fever, Atlanta Dream, Washington Mystics, New York Liberty, and Connecticut Sun. Calendar-wise, the annual WNBA schedule looks something like this. It's a much more condensed calendar than the NBA. The new year really gets going in late January, early February with free agency. That's the period of time when teams are able to negotiate with players and officially sign them. Free agency vital to roster building for each team. The WNBA draft typically takes place sometime in April. That's when all 12 teams have the opportunity to take turns drafting the top eligible college players and adding them to their rosters. There's a short preseason for about a week or so in early May, which leads right into the regular season that usually starts mid-May. The regular season played all the way through September, so about 4 months in length. If it's a year where there's a Summer Olympics or FIBA World Cup, they'll take a month-long break for that as well. And finally, we have the playoffs or postseason for the best teams, which get underway in mid-September. The playoffs typically last about a month, with the champion being crowned in mid-October. So that's a big picture look at our WNBA calendar. Let's zoom in now on the regular season and talk about the format. We mentioned we have 12 WNBA teams in 2 conferences of 6 teams each. All 12 teams play a total of 40 regular season games, 20 games at home and 20 games on the road. They play the other 5 teams in their conference 4 times each, and then the 6 teams in the opposite conference 3 or 4 times each season. This is a look at the regular season standings from the 2023 WNBA season. Again, 40 games played for each of the 12 teams. 20 at home, 20 on the road, each game 40 minutes in length. We have 4 10-minute quarters. And then the way it works for the playoffs is that we take the 8 best teams, the 8 teams with the best regular season records, regardless of conference, and they qualify for the postseason. This is an example of how the playoffs looked in 2023. Our 8 playoff teams are seeded based on best records. So this year, Las Vegas was the 1 seed versus 8 seed, 4 against 5, 2 plays the 7, and 3v6. We then have 3 rounds of postseason play. Unlike the NBA, where all 4 rounds are best of 7 series, the WNBA implements a best 2 out of 3 first round and then best of 5 series for the semifinals and finals. Last team standing is the WNBA champion. Again, usually the finals conclude sometime in October. As of the start of 2024, Minnesota, Houston, and Seattle have the most overall titles with 4 apiece. LA, Phoenix, and Detroit/Dallas very successful historically as well. This is the rest of the table in terms of which franchises have won WNBA championships. All 12 active teams have made at least 1 finals appearance. However, New York, Connecticut, and Atlanta remain as the only 3 active franchises to have never won the whole thing. And one last quick note on the WNBA, there is one other tournament that takes place during the regular season called the Commissioner's Cup. Essentially how it works is that 10 regular season conference games are designated as Commissioner's Cup games. It's not separate from the regular season, rather 10 games simply count towards the Commissioner's Cup standings as well. Then in August, once all 6 teams in each conference have played their 10 cup games, we take the top team in the East and the top team in the West. They play in one final to determine our Commissioner's Cup champion, with every player on the winning team making around $30,000 each. It's a nice way to keep the East versus West conference rivalry still a relevant thing, even with the conferences not mattering for playoff seeding. The Commissioner's Cup essentially just a one-off game each year, an extra trophy these teams are vying for, and some major prize money to go along with it for the champs and runners-up. Thanks a lot for watching my WNBA Explained video. If you have any questions still, please leave a comment. Let me know if you enjoyed the video, though. Give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the Snowman Sports Media for more basketball and other sports content. Cheers!